And I couldn't help but take many of my cues from my father. And I couldn't help but take many of my cues from my religion. So I still find it somewhat difficult to swear profusely, because in the religion I grew up in, Seventh-day Adventism, like swearing was a big sin. I grew up a vegetarian, and even though I've come to realize that the vegetarian diet is very unhealthy for many people, I've not been able to overcome that early imprinting and eat meat, even though I believe that eating meat is far healthier. So there are all sorts of habits that I developed from my family, from my father, from my Seventh-day Adventist upbringing, that even when I became an atheist at age 18, I couldn't help but continue those habits. Then my life fell apart with chronic fatigue syndrome, and I started looking around to medical doctors, like trying to figure out, how do I overcome this problem, this overwhelming fatigue? I can't figure out a way. My religion, my family can't figure out a way. Will medical doctors provide a way out? Will medical science provide a way out? And the answer is not so much. So then I turned to the mental health profession, and I had consultations with psychiatrists and psychologists and therapists, and I had 10 years of psychotherapy. I had, from 1993 until 2007, most of that time I was medicated. So I started off with Nardil, an MAO inhibitor, which was an antidepressant developed in the 1950s. And then starting around 2002, 2003, I got on lithium, clonidine, clonopam. So I experienced some moderate benefit from all this mental health treatment. But my life still didn't like fully work. So it really wasn't until I got into 12-step programs that my life worked. So for some people, religion provides the fundamental guidance that they need. For other people, they get it from their family, right? You come from a healthy, happy, loving, productive family, most of your guidance you're going to get right there. Other people will turn to doctors and to mental health professionals, and then if none of those work, other people will turn to 12-step programs. Yeah, now more and more people travel to live around various nations around the world for better taxes, healthcare, and freedom. Go where you are treated best. Those are horrible drugs. Well, they helped me at the time, mildly, moderately, and but I was able to get off them in 2009 when I started going to daily Alexander Technique teacher training. That kind of reprogrammed my responses to stimuli, so I was able to get off all those medications fairly quickly. So lithium is the absolute gold standard for bipolar tendencies, which I have. And it's funny, we've developed so many more drugs since the 1950s, but they don't have any more efficacy than the 1950s drugs, like lithium and Valium, right? We had these in the 1950s, and the patents ran out on all these medications. So pharmaceutical companies had to come up with new medications so that they could make money. But the new medications, there's no evidence that they're more effective than the old medications, right? There's no evidence that the new bipolar meds are more effective than lithium. But they make the pharmaceutical companies money. So I've really been enjoying reading a series of books by Alan V. Horowitz. He's a sociologist of medicine, just putting the mental health profession into a context. But let me look at the chat. Rodney says, Luke, the fact that you got off them with Alexander Technique would tell me you didn't really need them. Well, really need, maybe need. Did they help me out at the time? Yeah, they helped me out at the time. They balanced me. So who knows what I would have been like. Why would you say no to lithium? Lithium's the absolute gold standard. It evens you out. So who knows how much trouble I would have gotten into if it has to be seriously monitored for what, right? It's been around for 70 years. It's highly effective. It's highly safe. There are some side effects. You gain weight. Benzodiazepines, the new ones they have are no more effective than the ones they had in the 1950s. And the new meds for bipolar are no more effective than the ones that they had in the 1950s, but they do make the pharmaceutical companies more money. Question, what makes 12-step programs the best? For me, it was they provide you with community. So other people, they provide you with stories that you can relate to. They provide you with an opportunity to share your story. They provide you with mentorship and sponsorship. And they provide you with steps and tools and a living, breathing community that you can be a part of, that you can join. Doesn't cost you any money, and you can make friends with people who have similar struggles, and you can have close contact with people who have overcome the problems that are bedeviling you. I have not tried saltpeter. So I'm reading this another book by Alan V. Horwitz, Between Sanity and Madness, Mental Illness from Ancient Greece to the Neuroscientific Era. And so he notes that Charles Darwin, Origin of Species, has exerted a towering influence over the scientific zeitgeist, including psychiatry. So Charles Darwin viewed mental phenomena as organically grounded traits that evolved from earlier forms of life. So sadness, happiness, despair, contempt, these all radiate from our features, and our facial features radiating these emotions, the physical demonstration of all our basic emotions, are virtually universal, right? Universal around the world, all peoples, all races, and they're also equally true with the primates that are most like us, such as gorillas and other apes. They also have similar expressions of sadness, joy, hatred, contempt to what we do. So Darwin developed the principle of natural selection, and he showed how various mental qualities, psychic qualities, have different survival values in diverse environments, and how that guides the process. So in a certain environment, it will pay you to be incredibly anxious and on guard. All right, so that will help you and your offspring to survive. But in a different environment, a lower level of anxiety will be more adaptive. So almost all mental health phenomena are adaptive in some situations and maladaptive in other situations. So my desire for attention and admiration is adaptive for me doing this video. But if I was at work and I had the same level of, hey, look at me, pay attention to me, listen to me, that would not work in a work context. It would not work in a most social context. So what looks like narcissism in what I'm doing right now, that level of narcissism would not work equally well in other contexts. But if I had absolutely no narcissism, like no desire for you to look at me or listen to me, I wouldn't be making this video. So it's adaptive for me to have some level of, hey, listen to me, look at me, that desire. It's adaptive to making this video, but in a different context, that would be maladaptive. Being highly anxious in a dangerous situation is adaptive. In a non-dangerous situation, it's maladaptive. Not being able to sleep would be adaptive in certain situations because you're alert, and to be maladaptive in other situations. Feeling very sad would be adaptive in certain situations, like you've suffered significant losses, you need time to grieve, you need time to think about what your next step will be, how you're going to spend your energy. You run through various scenarios in your head, so you just look sad, depressed, and passive, but it's actually adaptive for the particular circumstance that you're in. So almost all mental illness has demonstrations that are adaptive in some circumstances and maladaptive in other circumstances.